Thanks again to all the sponsors. Thanks to all of you for coming out. Welcome to the MI Conversation Series. My name is Ryan Downey. It is awesome to see lots of fucking killer shirts here tonight. The man that I'm about to bring out needs no introduction, but I'm going to introduce him anyway. 2 words. Metal. 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 Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Rob fucking Halford. Already, you've out-rowdied any other crowd we've had for one of these. As advertised. So if you haven't been to one of these before, a little bit about what we do is we just have a very fun conversational discussion about really a wide-ranging number of things, going all the way back to the origins and figuring out, in this case, how one becomes the metal god. And then we'll take some questions from y'all, so be sure to come up with some good ones. And I'll let you know when it's time for that. Yow!
I was saying backstage, I think I'm having the male menopause this evening. Whatever.
Hot sleeper?
Yes. Thank you.
Sir.
Hello, Ryan. I saw Ryan 2 weeks ago.
Yep.
At the baby metal thing.
Did you guys see Rob Halford with baby metal? I saw
that
the
was pretty
sound
cool.
check.
A lot of people hated me after that, you know, which is whatever. My philosophy in life is do everything that you want to do and don't let nobody try and stop you. Because, you know, you're living your life for yourself, and that can be kind of dangerous territory in the music world, because our fans, who I love with all my heart, are like family, and when you're in a family, you're very opinionated. What is he wearing? You know, that kind of thing.
It's like
what
people with
baby
sports
metal?
teams.
No,
you know?
I just want to do it because they asked me, and I think they're pretty cool, and that was that. So, end of story. Then he got to Blabbermouth. There's like 5,000. Fuck you, fuck you, fuck you.
But for every 5,000 fuck yous on Blabbermouth, there's 500,000 people that saw it and went, "That's fucking cool," and didn't say shit. So I always like to keep that in mind. So one of the things that I'm really interested in talking with you about that's been a fascination of mine as a lifelong fan of heavy metal, what makes Birmingham so fucking metal? Like how, you know, what was it about this place, this soil, this industrial, that produced all of these legends like yourself? How did that happen?
I really feel blessed that I was born and raised in that part of the world, because there are lots of discussions about where heavy metal came from. What was the first heavy metal sound? Some people say it was Blue Cheer when they did Summertime Blues, which is a really, really heavy track. But in essence, for me, it was when Tony detuned his guitar after the accident, and those first really heavy riffs started to come out from him, from Birmingham. But you've got to try and put your mindset back to a place. When I was born in 1951, that we still kind of had the residual effect of World War II, that horrible World War II. So a lot of the UK was recovering, you know, rebuilding from all the terrible destruction, and so it was with Birmingham. And Birmingham at the time was kind of becoming this shining mecca of concrete and steel, which was a great thing to talk about until you actually saw it, you know. And they actually tried to make it a modern city by building a freeway that went through the heart of the town, thinking everybody's going to stop. But they didn't. They just kept going south to London, which was a disaster. But Because I think we were, musically, we were coming through the back end of that really incredible electric rock experience. A lot of it coming from America. I mean, Hendrix, for example, was the first guitar player that really turned things up, you know, because technology was advancing and Marshall amplifiers were being made and everything was getting louder and more intense and crazy. And so, you know, growing up and living through those early developmental times of Birmingham and the New England, like a lot of kids, I was trying to find my place in music. What did music mean to me? You know, what could I get out of the music that I was listening to? And even then I was drawn to anything that was louder than anything else, Lemmy. So it was just that sense of wanting to break out, you know, get out of the hood, the neighbourhood, whatever you want to call it. You know, there was that part of the UK that was still pretty bleak, you know, even though it was growing.
I think it was fair to call that a hood at that time.
Yeah,
Birmingham,
so, you know, it was just like a lot of musicians, the music gives you an ability to be free. When you play in a band, you have this incredible sense of escapism and freedom. And I think that's what a lot of the players around the Midlands were doing. Not only metal, because we had like the Moody Blues from there, and obviously Robert from Zeppelin, and ELO, The Move, all of these incredibly talented musicians that were just, like most musicians, trying to break free. But I don't know what it was. I think the other reason for me was always that when the Beatles became famous, they were from Liverpool. And in that time, you had to go to London to be a success. But they said, no, we're from Liverpool, you know. And when they became famous, I think that sent a message to musicians all over the UK that you didn't have to be from the Big Smoke, as it used to be called. You could find your fans. You could find a club, a place to play. You didn't have to go like 200 miles south. Yeah. So
the tradition carried on by like Oasis and Morrissey, and
that's right.
About
so
Manchester.
Yeah, exactly. So the whole thing, this dividing line that still is there in the UK, you know. Once you go north of the Watford Gap, as it's called, there's something supposed to change, which I never quite understood that. You know, you're going back to the class system, you know, upper class, middle class, lower class, and it was a terrible thing, struggle in the UK. It's not so much now, but it still hints a bit there. So all of those things compounded, I think, Ryan, were the result of bands like Priest and Priest and Sabbath, you know, wanting to make a noise, and it happened to come from the Midlands.
And the world was forever changed for the better for a lot of us. So who are some of the, you mentioned Hendrix. What were some of the things that you found early on that really gave you that fire to say, I want to create something like this or something that evokes this same feeling? It's
funny you should say that word, fire, because I instantly get a guy in my head going, The Crazy World of Arthur Brown, who had a song called Fire, and he used to make appearances on this TV show we used to have called Top of the Pops, which is a bit like American Bandstand.
Yeah.
And this guy was insane, you know. I mean, nobody'd ever seen anything like him. He was like Rasputin, the Mad Monk, and he used to wear a crown of fire on the television, you know. This is before anybody's, before Ozzy and Manson, and, you know, everybody's like, well, get that thing off the television. You're corrupting the children of England and all that kind of thing. It was incredible. So I was drawn to that, like most young people. I want that. That's the guy. That's the guy there, you know. I don't want the other thing that's too soft and tame, you know. So, and I actually saw him. I saw him do a show in my hometown is Walsall, which is about 9 miles away from Birmingham City. And I actually saw him perform at a college, I think it was. And he had a full-on show, you know. I don't know where he got these incredible people to make, like, galleon fighting ships. The roadies would dress up as galleon fighting ships, and they'd just go crashing into each other while he was singing around them, just doing all this crazy psychedelic rock and roll stuff. And so that was me. I loved anything that had spectacle. that left you with a visual memory as well as an audible memory. So yeah, you know, the loud people, whether it was Arthur Brown or obviously what Hendrix was doing. From a musical point of view, I was always drawn to really talented players, you know, like the Cream with Eric Clapton and Ginger Baker and Jack Bruce, that kind of stuff, you know. Anything, but still now to some extent, I love to listen and look at people that have really put some time into doing what they're doing, you know. That's why I love lead guitar players. I love Richie and I love Glenn and KK, the way that they really work hard to make things special, you know. So a mixture of all of those people. And it wasn't always the heavy stuff. As a singer, I've always had a very open mind to appreciating every kind of vocal performance, you know.
And that was actually my next question. What made you decide that your voice would be your instrument versus, picking something else up in a band?
I don't know. Again, I guess just because a lot of musicians, we kind of emulate each other. You know, what is a heavy metal singer? I mean, what was a heavy metal singer in 1969, you know?
I mean, if someone asked me what is a heavy metal singer, and I'm not just saying this because you're sitting here, I say Rob Halford. So what was there before that was, you know?
Well, when I mean,
I'm not, you know.
The reason I'm saying that is that, again, musicians always look to each other, you know. Guitar players look to certain guitar players, drummers, bass, whatever. But as far as metal singers, I personally didn't have any. I didn't go that. I love what that metal singer's doing over there, because there wasn't any. You know, there wasn't any. I mean, I'll always put my friend Robert Plant at the top of the heap for me, only because he just went the extra 9 yards when he started, you know, wailing and screaming and doing stuff that not many of the male vocalists at the time were doing. He was a great inspiration for me. So again, I can remember those very early days of Priest, where we used to rehearse at this tiny little room about half the size of this stage. You could barely get in it. And it used to be run by this local vicar. We called him Holy Joe. His name was Joe, Father Joe. And it cost us about £5, which is a lot of money in those days, £5. And we used to give him £5 and he'd go straight down the pub round the corner and get smashed. See him staggering back into the church, you know, to the late night service. But he used to run this room called Holy Joe's, a very famous place. Slade used to jam there all the time, and a lot of other people. It was really the only, very few rehearsal facilities in those days. So Priest would go in there, and we didn't really have an idea of what we were doing. It was very much a jam, you know. It was kind of progressive blues rock, you know, and out of those early jams would come the riffs and the ideas. So I really wish now, if where's my phone? No, I don't know, I've lost it again. If I'd had a cell phone to record it, and we didn't even think about pressing record on a tape machine, you know. What were we doing? You know, it would have been like watching something grow, you know, that was never heard of before. But anyway, that's how that sound developed, and that's how my technique, if you want to call it that, my style, if you want to call it that, that's how it developed. You literally are making it up as you go along, which I think is really cool, because that means it's very pure, you know. It's uncluttered, it's very organic, it comes really from your soul and spirit, as real great music should. So you just find your way, slowly but surely.